Chair for the Lewisville ISD Council of PTAs. We are grateful you are here for this morning's State Candidate Forum for candidates in State House Districts 57, 63, 65, 106, 98, and Senate seats 12 and 30. In a moment, we will introduce the candidates and begin the forum. First, I would like to thank Lewisville ISD and Principal Adrian Marino for hosting us today in the beautiful Career Center East facility. For those of you new to technology, exploration, and Career Center East, this campus has student career and certification programs for animation, architecture, auto technology, media production, cosmetology, STEM and engineering, graphic design, health science, law enforcement, and video game design. In fact, if you are in need of a manicure or a haircut, the cosmetology class down the hall actually takes appointments with the public. I would also like to introduce Carrie Baker and the LISD Council of PTA Board. Carrie Baker is our president, and the board, would you please stand? Carrie's recording, but the rest of the board, please stand. So thank you for all of your help with this forum. And thank you to the Lewisville ISD Superintendent, Dr. Rapp, and our LISD School Board of Trustees who were able to attend today. Would you please stand? Let's thank them for our service to our students and community. Before we continue, there will also be local and federal elections on the November ballot. If we have any candidates for those local or federal elections, would you stand and introduce yourself? Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Ernest Lineberger, husband to retired Libertarian elementary school teacher, and I am running to be the Democratic nominee for your United States House of Representatives seat for Texas Congressional District 26, which we're all in today. Thank you.
Thank you. Most importantly, please meet our moderator for today's forum, Rachel Abel. She is our Texas PTA Board of Directors Vice President of Advocacy. Thank you, Ms. Abel, for joining us this morning. PTA does not endorse candidates. We support issues. PTA is a nonpartisan organization. All candidates for Texas House and Senate seats represented here today were invited to today's forum and provided with the outline for the forum structure. Candidates not able to attend were given two options to still participate in the forum. Those options, if unable to attend, were option 1, candidates are welcome to send a representative in their place to give an opening and closing statement and to answer questions. Option 2, if candidates do not wish to send a representative, they are welcome to email a statement to explain the reason for the absence and also answer the important to the future of Lewisville ISD question, which will be our first question in the session. The statement and the answer would be posted on the forum website along with the video to the forum if they are unable to attend. We ask that these statements were received by 9:00 p.m. October 14th so they can be printed and read at the forum. Today's forum is being streamed on Facebook Live. The recording of this video will be posted on a forum website, which will also be shared on the Lewisville ISD PTA social media and as a link on their website. Today's forum format will be as follows. We will announce the candidates for each seat. Each candidate will be giving a 2-minute opening statement followed by a series of questions where they will have 1 minute to answer. We will then rotate the candidates through 5 rapid fire or we will give them 5 rapid fire or yes, no answer questions before they give their 2-minute conclusions. And the yes, no will be via a card that they will hold up today. We will then hope you will have some time to visit with the candidates before we are finished with the room at 11 o'clock. Now, let's introduce you to the candidates who are running. Candidates, when I state your name, please stand. Candidates for Senate District 12. Senator Tan Parker sent a statement. From his staff, Representative Parker would love to participate if he was in town. Unfortunately, he is not and will be in the State Affairs Committee meetings on the 15th, 16th, and 17th. Please let us know if there are any future events that we may participate in. And then we did not receive a statement from Ms. Draper. Candidates for Senate District 30. Oh, they were right here. I'm so glad you're here. So you sneak in. We have candidate Stephanie Draper. So yes, please stand, thank you. And then we'll give your introduction in a little bit. I apologize. Candidates for Senate District 30, Mr. Dale Frey. And then we have candidates for House District 57 at the other end. We have Representative Richard Hayes, please stand. And then we have Mr. Darren Hamilton. And then we have a candidate for House District 63, former Representative Michelle Buckley. And we have a statement from Representative Ben Baumgartner. Unfortunately, we are not going to be able to make it, nor will I have a representative in my state. I will be having a town hall. Please come ask your questions there with me. Sorry the timing does not work, and I'm committed to ensuring our public schools are funded, giving all the tools in their bags for the focus and mission of educating our children. Next, we have candidates for House District 65. We have Mr. Dietrich DeBoer. Thank you. And then Mr. Little. Mr. Mitch Little sent a statement. I am at a hearing at this time. I would love to participate, but I'm going to be in court. And then for candidates for House District 106, Representative Jared Patterson did not send a statement. We also have Ms. Haven Johnson. Hava. Thank you. And then LISD does cover House District 98. We do not have any candidates with us today. That area is mostly agricultural land and warehouses. And so we always do make sure that they are invited, though, since a real small area of Lewisville ISD does cover their district. Okay. For those of you in the audience, there is a sheet of paper in the back with links where you can find more information about the candidates. There is also a link on the back of that sheet where you can go to find your House and Senate districts that you will be voting in, along with a sample ballot. So if you go to that link, fill out the information with your name and address, it'll pull up a sample ballot for you. Note, during early voting, you can vote in any Denton County location, but on election day, you must vote at your precinct location. And you can also find that location at the link on the back of that page. So if you don't have one, make sure you grab that sheet before you leave. Okay, and we're going to begin the forum.
Hello. Okay, it's working. Great. We'll start from the audience left to right, or your right to left, and you'll just go through and give a 2-minute introduction each, and then you'll pass the mic down. Thank you.
Absolutely. How you guys doing? My name is Dale Frey, and I'm running to be your next Texas State Senator for District 30, which is a big, massive area, stretches across 11 counties, but I only got 2 minutes, so let me tell you about myself. My wife came back down here to Texas, and I came with her to be with her father back when he had stage 3 cancer, which is going to segue to one of the many reasons I'm running for office, because I have a soft spot in my heart for trying to fix our broken healthcare system. One of the first warning signs I got to see how bad things are down here with healthcare is meeting Canette, a friend of mine. She's a woman who owns her own LLC, particularly for assisted living. She's a healthcare provider, and she's raging to me over a cup of coffee on how she needs to drop her Medicaid recipients, because she says the money's just not there anymore. The Medicaid rates in Health and Human Services has not been adjusted since long before the pandemic. Inflation's killing in the sector. It's so frustrating to me because I know that we in Texas are one of the few states in the country that's not opted into the Medicaid expansion program, which is making us lose a good $10 billion a year throughout Texas. Money that we're sending outside of the state but not back here. It's so frustrating. And this affects people's lives, like my father-in-law, for example. I mean, especially as a retired public school teacher, because I was shocked to find out how little amount of money the public school teachers make in retirement. I was shocked to find out how little amount of money the public school teachers make before they retire. Vicki, another friend of mine, teacher at Frisco ISD, before she retired, she told me how much money she was making. And I said, my God, Vicki, that's the same amount of money I made my first job out of college. Our public schools are not being supported right now. They're desperately underfunded because the WETA, or the basic allotment rates, have not been adjusted since almost just over half a decade. And we need to fix that. We need to increase the basic allotment. And I stand against the school voucher scam. The school voucher scam does not utilize our big massive surplus that we very much do have here in Texas. It is designed specifically to defund our public schools. The school voucher program is not the will of the people. It is the will of Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilks, two Texas billionaires who are funding the overwhelming majority of the GOP representatives. If you want to learn more about that, you can meet me after this, because I have a lot to say, but not enough for 2 minutes, so thank you for your time.
Ms. Draper, will you pause for just one moment? They're gonna do some technical.
Discovered that our live stream is hard to hear, so.
Please stand up. Pretend like that. Yes. Phase part of our technical difficulties.
Well, while they're.
Yeah, we're at the PTA Center.
Are you all fired up for this election?
Yes, yes.
I am too,
Yes.
Now would be the time to ask a question before they. Those of us who have a problem with the screen.
pass it down.
Oh, we're gonna play pass it.
Two microphones.
Yes.
Oh,
two microphones.
I don't even know if it's actually going to work, but it's going to test your left, right brain, testing.
Does it work?
Does it work?
Oh, we won't know yet.
We'll do a quick trial. We'll test. I'm so glad I have y'all full attention.
Great for it. She's amazing.
You may go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Draper, and I am your nominee for Texas State Senate District 12. I am a wife, a mother of 3, and my husband is a veteran, and my daughter is serving active duty right now. I have been a resident of Texas for 21 years, and I have been in this district for about 18 years. And I love this district. The reason why I'm running is because the GOP made me. They started attacking our public schools, and that was where I had a problem with, along with many other things that they started attacking. I have friends that are teachers, I have relatives that are teachers as well, and I know plenty of people that work in the school system. And I know our system is broken. Texas is number 43, can y'all believe that? In the country. As much very well-educated people that we have here, and as much money that we have in this state, there is no way that we can be number 43. Well, we're number 43. And that is one of the reasons why I'm running, because I want to make a difference. I am a totally 100% against school vouchers. School vouchers does nothing except for hurt our public schools, and it will hurt the people that we love the most, is our children. So that's one of the reasons why I'm running, and I know you're gonna find so much more things about me, but I wanna let you know that I am for our teachers, and I am definitely against public vouchers. That makes no sense. I'm gonna pass it on.
Hi, I hope both microphones are able to pick me up, although I probably don't need any. My name is Kava Johnson, and I am here because I am running to be the next representative for Texas House District 106. So, I would first of all like to thank the council, Lewisville Council of PTAs. I know firsthand from personal experience after 4 children and serving on several PTA boards, how much time, passion, and energy it takes to support your schools. You guys are the ones who step up when your students and your teachers need you most, and it is a privilege to be in your company today. We are facing big problems, guys. Programs like private school voucher programs are stripping the state and our education system of critical funding and making it more difficult for our schools to do what they do best: teach, support, and inspire our students. I am here to make sure that your tax dollars stay in your public schools. I'm running for this district because I truly love it. I am a 4th generation Texan. I grew up in Collin County in Plano. I'm a graduate from Plano Senior High School in 1991. I put my 4 kids through Frisco ISD, Plano ISD. They've also attended schools in Wiley, Saxe, and I've moved around quite a bit in this area. So, having served on multiple of those PTA boards, everything from vice presidents to event chairs to coordinates, I understand the commitment that you're putting into your schools, and I feel like our representatives in our state need to put that same commitment back into our schools and make sure that your funds stay where they belong and our kids all have the opportunity to reach their full potential. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Thank you so much. My name is Detrick DeBurr. I'm the Democratic nominee for Texas House of Representatives in District 65. I have to start by saying I'm insulted. I'm here. You're here. I have places to be. I had a 9 a.m. meeting. I took it, and I said, excuse me, because this is important. The Texas Constitution, Article 7, basically says that it's your responsibility to provide free public education. Not what I said. It's what they said. When you don't do your job, where I'm from, you get fired. That means you haven't done your job when you have inadequately funded schools. Period. End of discussion. With that said, I've served on a board of a private school for 6 years. I've been a planning and zoning commissioner in North Texas for 18 years. What that means is I've been a public servant. You see, before you ask for a job to be a public officer, you should be a public servant. So you can tell what people are going to do by what they've done, not what they say they're going to do. Look at what they've done. I've been a planning and zoning commissioner in Collin, Texas, like I said, for 9 years. I like to tell people, so if you've seen Grand State, you know a little bit about me. Right? Thank you so much for that. Anyway, what I want to say really, really quickly, I'm 100% for public education. I believe that we have to pay or tie or link, whatever term you want to use, the basic allotment to inflation. Right? When costs go up, simply the pay needs to go up, or revenue needs to go up. This is really simple. This is math. So if this is not resolved, it's on purpose. Let me be clear. It's on purpose. This isn't difficult. We have money for this. We can solve this problem when you decide to hire people, i.e. vote for people who make this a priority. Thank you very much.
Hi, just go ahead and start. Okay, I'm former Representative Michelle Beckley, and I am one of the 12 reasons why we got funding in Lewisville ISD in 2019 and vouchers stopped being talked about in that session. vouchers in this state. I am the only representative that is on this stage today that has voted 100% not for vouchers. Everyone else in Denton County has supported vouchers, period, end of story. You can look the records up. A little bit about me. I went to Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD from kindergarten to high school. Then I followed that up with a degree in biomedical science from Texas A&M, and I went to a couple community colleges along the way. Completely support our public schools from head to toe. My sister is a math teacher out of Waco, and so is my nephew. What they have done to teacher pay in one generation and benefits in one generation, we should be embarrassed as the 8th largest GDP in the world. Not the states, the world. We underpay our teachers by $10,000 a year. That's not our school buses, that's not our cafeteria ladies, every other support staff, they're all underpaid. And you know, the reality is that isn't right. And it bothers me, which is why I'm running again. Because I was so angry. Flipping a district one time is really difficult. Improving your margin in 2020 was even more difficult. And then doing it again because you were gerrymandered out of the district you represented is a nightmare, to be honest with you. But I am that passionate about it, and I would fully fund Lewisville ISD just like I did in the past. You know what you're getting when you vote for me. You know what you're getting when you vote for my opponent, who consistently voted against LISD. Thank you.
Good morning. I apologize, I'm autistic, I have everything written down. My name is Darren Hamilton, and I'm honored to be here as a candidate for the Texas House of Representatives. As a proud libertarian, I believe in the principles of individual freedom, personal responsibility, and limited government intervention. I chose to stand for election to this post because I believe that parents and communities should have a significant voice in the education of our children. Education is not just a government function, it's a collaborative effort that includes parents, teachers, and the community. We need to empower families to make choices that best suit their children's needs, whether that's through diverse educational options or advocating for more transparency in our schools. I want to address the importance of fiscal responsibility. Our schools should be good stewards of the funds that we allocate to them. This means prioritizing spending that directly benefits our students and ensuring that resources are effectively used. We need to be advocates for accountability, demanding that every dollar spent in our schools is a dollar well spent. Another core belief of mine is that education should not be a one-size-fits-all approach. Every child is unique, and we must support innovative teaching methods and curriculum options that address diverse learning experiences. I envision a school environment where parents can actively participate in shaping educational policies, ensuring that their voices are heard and respected. As we move forward, let's work together to create a school system that is responsive to the needs of our families and respects our individual rights. I'm committed to fostering an inclusive environment where every parent feels empowered to engage and advocate for their child's education. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to discussing how we can work together for the benefit of our students and our communities.
Good morning. I'm State Representative Richard Hayes, House District 57. I live in Hickory Creek. I'm a small businessman, a lawyer by trade. We have 13 attorneys in our firm, 20 employees. My primary practice area is business and property litigation, do a lot of eminent domain. I represent 20 cities, towns, and communities. There are 9 school districts. LISD, of course, is one of those school districts. I grew up in Denton, graduated in Denton Junior High, Denton High, same with my wife. We have 5 kids, all graduated from Denton High. My wife was a high school teacher at Little Round High School in Denton, retired. She was in the K program with medical sciences. She's already about education. Been very active in the community over the years. I want to go through those, but let me tell you what the issues I see coming up in the next session. They're going to receive a lot of attention. The first continues to be border security. We still have a critical problem there. It's beyond imagination. The state government, the federal government have to fuss about border security. We spent about $7 billion on border security, is what we budgeted last session. Now that could have gone to education. But every time the state of Texas takes some action, they end up a lawsuit with the federal government. So I don't get that. Second thing is going to be continued property tax reform, we recall. Last time we raised the homestead exemption to $100,000, $110,000 if you're over 65, and then we were able to reduce your actual property tax rate by reducing the M&O portion about 12.5 cents, and that was pretty helpful. We did have a huge surplus last session, about $30 billion. We spent $18.5 billion of that on that property tax cut, just to let you know where that money went. We're going to continue to spend money on roads. Denton County is adding about 90 people a day, is how fast we're going. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, candidates. We're going to begin with our questions. We're going to start with Mr. Frey here on the end with question 1, and we'll pass the mic down once again. Question 2, we'll start with Ms. Draper, and then we'll pass around and finish up with Mr. Frey, and we'll do that as we proceed through the questions. For the first question, and you'll have 1 minute, and so some of these are a little bit more complex, so just remember you only have 1 minute to respond. What is the one issue you feel is the most important to the future of Lewisville ISD in the upcoming session, and how do you hope to address this issue?
Oh boy, well, it's hard to pick one. I mean, my top 2 to me is healthcare and also trying to support our public schools. But for this 1 minute, I'll talk about our public schools. As I said before, our public schools are under attack right now. The basic allotment in the WETA has not been adjusted since before the pandemic. Our schools are underfunded. I know that there are many on the other side of the aisle who will tell you, technically speaking correctly, that we have never given any more money to schools now than we have before. Technically that's true, but when you adjust those rates according to inflation, it's no longer the case. Our schools, we need to adjust the WETA and the basic allotment and bring that up. And also, as I believe what my colleagues mentioned, we also need to make that basic allotment tied to the inflation rates. So as the inflation rates go up, so does the basic allotment as well. And then, of course, being against the voucher program. So to answer your question, trying to support our public schools by funding them and also protecting them from the voucher scam.
The budget. The budget is one of my biggest concerns, especially with us in LSISD getting ready to close down 20 schools. So with that, I'm concerned about our budget. I'm concerned about Lewisville not getting enough funding that is needed. They're taking our tax dollars and they're putting it into a trust fund, and basically they're not pushing the money back down. Our teachers need to get raises, and we don't have the funds to take care of it. So my thing is that we need to increase the state funding for our schools. We also need to increase the amount that the students are getting as well. So that's my thought.
This should be a real cut and dry answer. As far as I'm concerned, we need to protect our public schools at all costs. We need to make sure our tax dollars stay with our public schools because it is a public service, and we need to fulfill our constitutional duty to do so. And if we aren't doing that, as my colleague has said, then we aren't doing our jobs, and the people that we have in office right now are refusing to do their jobs, and they're holding our schools hostage, which is why you have budget shortfalls, which is why you have schools closing down, not just in Lewisville ISD, but in Plano ISD, and in Wiley ISD, and in ISDs across the entire state. It doesn't have to be this way. As our current representative mentioned, we have a $9 billion surplus. There is no reason why some of this money can't be coming into Lewisville and all of the surrounding ISDs. Make sure all of our students have the opportunity to fulfill their educational dreams and have all the same possibilities that we have when we went to public schools. I'm a product of the public school systems in Texas, and I can vouch for them. When they work well. When they're broken, we're all broken.
Thank you so much. Well, there are a lot of issues obviously affecting Texas because of so much growth that we're experiencing. We're pretty much growing faster than a lot of the cities can handle. And so they're growing pains, that's what I'll call them. Right? So those are some of the issues, but we have an emergency. Our emergency is that we have underfunded schools. And so I believe in first things first. Because if you don't fund your schools, then you're gonna have to fund your prisons. You choose. Let me say it again. If you don't properly fund your schools, you're going to have to fund your prisons. Because uneducated people end up ultimately unable to function in society, and we have a place for them called prisons. So this is a decision, guys. Are you going to vote for people who fund your schools? Or later on, are you going to vote for people that have to put them and take care of them in prison? You decide.
So I think it's pretty clear that stopping vouchers is going to be the biggest issue of the next session. But the battle's not next session. The battle starts October 21st. And the battle starts at the ballot box. And you are going to have to vote for people who support vouchers out of office. That is your choice. And you're going to have to get every single one of your friends. It worked in 2018. It will work in 2024. And we have to flip 3 to 5 state house seats. We have, the numbers have, we can flip 2 historically in Denton County based on the gerrymandering of this county. I've done it before, we can do it again. But it takes votes and it's going to be close. Thank you.
Once again, I have my answers. One of the most pressing issues for Lewisville ISD in the upcoming session is addressing the growing need for mental health resources among students. The increasing prevalence of mental health challenges can significantly impact academic performance and overall well-being. To tackle this issue, I would advocate for enhanced funding for mental health programs, including hiring more counselors and mental health professionals in schools. Additionally, implementing comprehensive training for teachers and staff on recognizing and responding to mental health issues can create a supportive environment for students. Engaging parents and the community through workshops and resources would also be key to fostering a culture of awareness and support. By prioritizing mental health, we can help ensure that every student has the resources they need to thrive both academically and personally.
Well, I think the number one issue is funding. But before we get to funding, let's talk about a concept of excellence in education. And I believe this, that has to be the number one goal, excellence in education. We're pretty blessed here in Denton County that we have excellent school districts. You go 30 miles to the east, you go 4 hours to the south, you do not find that. So that has to be addressed. With that said, with funding, where we have fallen short in the legislature is underfunding transportation, underfunding the basic allotment, underfunding special education, underfunding safety. We're pretty good about underfunding everything. But don't be offended because the state, I'm a freshman, my observation is we underfund everything. We underfund mental health, we underfund prisons, we underfund the grid, water development, law enforcement, education. You choose the number, we underfund it. So don't be offended that education is being underfunded. But I'll tell you this, we will do a better job this time on funding school districts and increasing the basic allotment.
Thank you, Mrs. Draper, for question number 2. Hello. What is your position on vouchers or educational savings accounts? And please explain. And there's 1 minute once again.
What is mine?
What is your position on vouchers or educational savings accounts? And please explain.
My position on that is that it doesn't work. There have been plenty of data that shows that it does not work in many states. And with the amount of money, we have over $33 billion that's set aside for our schools that our governor is basically holding hostage. We gotta change that. That is my stance on it. I'm voting no against vouchers. We don't need vouchers here. We need to continue on enhancing our public schools by making sure that our teachers get raises, by making sure that we have all the tools that is necessary for our students to be successful.
Right, thank you for the question. The short answer is I stand firmly and strictly against vouchers or educational savings accounts. Now, don't have those confused with someone who wants to take some money and put it in an interest-bearing savings account and not pay tax on it so that someday they can spend their kids to vocational schools or charter schools or private schools or college. That's a whole different type of savings account. What they're trying to do is trying to take your tax dollars that belong in your public schools and take them out to provide their own children with private school education. That to me is no different than me coming to you if I needed a operation and my medical insurance wasn't going to cover it, and I came over to your house and I said, hey, you know what, let me just borrow some of your Medicare so I can have this special operation that my public dollars won't pay for. We don't pay for people's private procedures, and we shouldn't be paying for people's private schools. That's their choice, that's great. Texas already has school choice. I know, I've used it. So, parents have the upper hand with education now. They don't need to strip the schools away from their funding.
Thank you so much. I've yet to find a universal voucher program that has worked anywhere on the planet. I encourage anyone to share it. It hasn't worked. It ends up turning into grift. Ask the people in Arizona who have blown up their budget with vouchers. It's really simple. Public schools are for public good. That's why we pay for them. And we pay for them because we all benefit from them. And that kind of money should stay for the benefit of those things. For that reason, I think vouchers not only will not work, have not worked. And let me be clear, let me be specific. Because like I said, I district on the board of a private school. In very unique situations, like after Katrina, like there's a major, catastrophic issue, some people might need some tuition assistance, right? That's very different from a universal voucher program. It will not work, it has not worked, and quite honestly, I think anything short of that suggesting that it is actually insulting.
I have consistently voted against vouchers and any voucher programs, and you can look it up. It's not, whatever, we'll talk about it. But what I really want to talk about is Lewisville ISD and the estimate based on a 5% voucher use. Lewisville ISD will lose $20 million annually on top of that. And let's also talk about our charter schools that Lewisville ISD is losing $6 to $7 million, 6 to 7% in the last 4 years, which is why we're closing 10 to 20 schools. It is because of the charter schools, which we have not reevaluated, which were supposed to be reevaluated. And my colleague is right. The GOP has funded everything in the state. And this is why we don't have a working power grid, just like we're about to not have a working public school system.
While I understand the appeal of school vouchers as a way to promote educational choice, I oppose them because they divert essential funding from public schools, which serve the majority of our students. Public education should be fully funded and improved rather than having resources funneled into a voucher system that primarily benefits a relatively small number of families. We need to focus on strengthening our public schools, ensuring that every child has access to a quality education, regardless of their background. True educational choice lies in improving the system we have, not in redirecting funds to private education.
I didn't start out in favor of vouchers having been raised in public schools, but I came to the conclusion that it was necessary. And let me just tell you this. Excellence in education, and whether you have public schools or you have money through the education savings account, are not mutually exclusive, guys. We can do both. And with all due respect to my colleague down at the table here, we have this in 31 other states, and it's working pretty well. It's not perfect. In the state of Texas, 49% of kids at grade 3 are reading at grade level. That is unacceptable. If your car started 49% of the time, or if your air conditioner came on 49% of the time, you wouldn't put up with it. Now, why are we going to do with our kids? So my thought is, I'm willing to give it a shot, and I think it can work. So here's the choice of the education community. If I'm reading the tea leaves, it's going to pass this session. So you can either stiff arm it and fight it every tooth of the way, or you can try to work with it and help it be successful. I haven't had a single teacher that comes to me and says, I love the STAR test. And you know why? It's not a good test.
Bug test for parents.
All right, so Guys, our schools are underfunded as it is right now. That's why our public schools are suffering and having hard times, because they're underfunded. This voucher program is a scam. It's designed to be the final nail in the coffin for our public schools. It's not school choice. You can't call it school choice when it takes away your public schools options away from you. Some of us very much do like our public schools, and we want to continue to have that choice. If you guys were very serious about this voucher program, y'all would again use our big massive surplus that we very much do have. We're the 8th largest economy in the world behind France. We can pay to fix our broken roads and our healthcare and even the school choice program if you want to, but that's not what y'all are doing, man. You're taking money away and sending them to private schools to defund and underfund our public schools even more. We need to stand in support of our public schools and teachers and help them out in any way we can. And we utilize the big massive surplus, but first we increase the basic allotment. Thank you.
All right, I'll start with you, Mrs. Johnston. On average, it costs approximately $10,000 to educate a student in Texas, while the basic allotment that districts receive per student has stagnated to $6,160, with no increase since 2019. Are you committed to increasing the basic allotment this session, and should this issue be a standalone bill?
Really great question, I appreciate the opportunity to answer it. Yes, that basic allotment absolutely should be increased, and it should be associated with our inflation rate, and not just leave it as it is, and everything else goes up, but the funding for our schools stays the way it was. We wouldn't settle for that with anything else, but for some reason we're settling with that for our schools. Second, we really need to stop this idea that we fund our schools based on attendance versus based on enrollment. There's a huge difference. And just because a child is absent from school or is taken out of school for a brief period of time, schools shouldn't lose funding for that. I mean, they're literally paid every day for butt in a seat. And that's not the way it should be. If you have an enrollment of 20,000 students, you get funded for 20,000 students, regardless if 300 of them were absent or not. So there's a lot of opportunities for fixing this, and that's just two.
Thank you so much. The basic allotment, like we've said, everybody said the same thing, needs to be increased, needs to be tied to inflation. Really simple. So that is a priority. As it relates to Representative Hayes and the notion of voucher programs working in 30 some odd other states, then where are those states in their basic allotment? My point is, you can't underfund a thing, then expect excellence from the same thing. So the question is not, are we going to have excellence in education? Can we have legislative excellence? Let's start there. We're going to ask our kids to be excellent, and then we don't give them what they need. We're going to ask our teachers to be excellent, and then we underfund them. That is hypocrisy.
So I graduated high school in 1988, and at that time, the schools were funded at about the 60% rate, and we're down to 42%. The GOP got us down to 30% at one point, in the not too distant past. We need to increase our basic allotment. Right now, we are $4,000 behind the national average, yet we are the 8th GDP. And let's just talk about our rainy day fund that we don't even touch. That is billions and billions and billions of the surplus that we didn't even touch during the pandemic. We didn't touch it during Harvey. And this is GOP underfunding everything. And that is what we're getting. You are getting what you pay for. And that is going to be school closures. And let's talk about those school closures. It's not just the teachers, it's the whole communities. That is funds out of the communities. That $20 million annually will not stay in this community. And that is the fact. And that means businesses are going to go under, everything is going to go under. And our children are our greatest asset.
My plan to increase funding for our schools focuses on a multifaceted approach. I will advocate for a comprehensive review of the state funding formula to ensure that it equitably distributes resources based on need. I also aim to explore alternate funding sources, such as grants and partnerships with local businesses. Additionally, I will work to protect and increase allocations for education in the state budget, prioritizing not just funding, but also effective use of those funds in our classrooms.
The basic allotment is $6,160. It needs to go up to about $1,900 to $2,000 additional. But you can't just look at basic allotment. For the 9 school districts I represent, from the statistics I've seen, we spend about $9,500 to over $12,000 per student right now. Where does the difference come from? Well, if you have special education, someone's in band, they're in sports, they're doing CAPE, there are the multipliers under the formula. So you have the basic formula, and then some of those multipliers up to 5 times. That is what raises the funding upwards. So there's a decent amount of money there. I'm not saying it's perfect. We do need to increase it. I didn't agree with the governor's approach last time. It had to be universal school choice. The hyperbole was it wasn't. We budgeted about $500 million, which sounds like a lot, but that was only enough for about 45,000 students out of the 5.4 million students that there were. This session, I believe school choice, as I said, if I'm reading the tea leaves, will pass. There will not be universal school choice, from what I can see, because there's not going to be funding there to do it.
Thank you for the question. It's a very good question. If I recall, the question was, would we support a bill of increasing the VA by itself without any strings attached? And the answer is yes. In fact, that's the only way I'm willing to accept it. I don't want to accept any bill that would have an increase to the VA yet tied to even a mini voucher program, because I'm nervous about what our governor will do. Keep in mind, our governor doesn't just have the ability to veto, he has line item veto power. If he wants to, and he's done this in the past, he can perform surgery on a bill right before signing it and then signing it into law. And that's why we can't negotiate on this. You cannot have an omnibus ticket that has both an increase to PA and then also a little voucher program as well, because the governor will just cut out the VA and just keep the voucher program alone. So we have to, the only way to do this is to increase the basic allotment by at least $1,400. $1,400 that will restore our funding back to the 2019 levels, and also ever since HB 3 in 2019, an increase to the VA also guarantees an increase to our teacher salaries, which is something they absolutely deserve. Thank you.
Once again, I'm gonna say no to vouchers. No. I don't care what you say that it's going to help our Texas, it's not. School vouchers are gonna take away from our public schools and go into private schools. The people who send their kids to private schools, great. But you should not be taking away funds from public schools to go send your child to a private school. If I want my child to go to a private school, I'm darn going to pay for it. It should come from public schools. Now, the allotment, we need to make it increase. Like a lot of our folks up here are saying, Greg Abbott is sitting up here holding the money that we have that's supposed to go out to these schools. He's holding it hostage. And that, we got to make sure that October 21st through November 1st and November 5th, we need to go out and go vote and make sure that we make some changes and also, because of course, looking at this room right here, we need to make some changes.
Thank you. We're on to question number 4. Mr. DeBurr, would you support decreasing the growing number of unfunded mandates facing schools? And if so, which ones?
That's a great question. That's a great question. First of all, I think it's criminal to give someone a mandate and then not give them the money to exercise that mandate. So basically, if you make a mandate and don't give them the money for it, I think you're really not intentional about the mandate. Probably one of the biggest right now is around school security. And what I'm seeing is that we're ending up, because there are demands to ensure that a school is secure, but they don't have the money to hire a person, so we end up with a math teacher with a weapon, or a football coach with a weapon. And personally, I don't have anything against that, right? Assuming that that person is the most qualified person, right? I have no problem with that, but let's ensure that person is the most qualified person. So that's my position. I think that if you're gonna give a mandate, right? I don't tell my kids go do something and then don't give them the money to do it. That means I really don't want them to do it, okay? I'll wrap it up with this really quickly. My dad used to say, son, there's no need to lie. The truth is bad enough. So let's start telling the truth.
I don't think give it an unfunded mandate. Not to say that things don't need to be fixed and there may be mandates that need to happen, but we need to fund it. And I find any mandate that's not funded unacceptable. I will agree with the latest one that we have is the hardening of our schools, which all we have to do is look at Uvalde, and that doesn't necessarily work. But that is what people want, and people are voting on that. So you listen to your constituents, so I'm open to doing that. But then fund it. It's $100,000 per person a year per school. And some of these schools in Lewisville ISD need 4 of them. So how many millions of dollars is that on top of everything else? Why do we think we are looking to close 10 to 20 schools? And it's not just going to be the schools. That's just the start of it. This building may not be here. There's not going to be STEM academies. There's not going to be band. There's not going to be football. There's not going to be honors classes.
To reduce the burden of unfunded mandates, I'll focus on 3 key measures. First, I'll push for a comprehensive review of existing mandates to assess their effectiveness and financial impact on districts. We need to eliminate or revise those mandates that are overly burdensome and do not demonstrate clear benefits to the students. Second, I'll advocate for state funding that directly aligns with these mandates to ensure that schools are not left to shoulder the costs alone. Lastly, I'll work with education leaders and stakeholders to create a more collaborative approach in the legislative process, ensuring that the voices of the teachers, administration, and parents are heard when new mandates are proposed.
I will support decreasing unfunded mandates. Mitch, good to see you there, sir. Here's what we've underfunded. School safety is one. Get about 25 cents of the dollar, the best I can tell. Secondly, on pre-K and K, while it is pretty voluntary right now, not mandatory, we're only paying 50 cents on the dollar. Same thing with special education. There are more and more needs there. And then transportation seems to be the other big bucket that I hear from my school districts. So each of those require additional funding. Now, in regards to closing schools, let me address that with Lewisville ISD. Your district has matured. It has grown wild for years, and now it's leveling off and it's starting to decline. That is not unusual in school districts around the state. Plano ISD is losing population because the houses are so expensive there, nobody can afford to live there. That is young families with kids. So we're going to have to address changing demographics as we go along.
Thank you. So to answer your question, no, I do not support any mandate that is underfunded. Of course not. Our schools are underfunded as it is, and trying to push a regulation or a mandate upon an ISD and not fund that is just yet another way of attacking that ISD. It's yet another way of pulling money away. It's ridiculous. If we really want to push for certain programs, you have to fund it. It's insane to me to think that you would make a law or a requirement or a mandate and not fund that. That's just crazy. That's just the legislature not doing its job. As mentioned earlier, too, I mean, when it comes to saying that public school teachers have to carry a gun on them or mandating something like that, that's really upsetting to me. Because I know a lot of my fellow public school teachers from Frisco ISD who said, I don't want to be walking around with a firearm in my pocket. I'm a little old lady. Any one of these kids can overpower me in high school. They're scared to hold on to things like that. And not to mention, like, I know one of the bills that was previously proposed would basically say that was the only way for a school teacher to get an increase in their salary, which is insane. Again, to answer your question, I do not support any underfunded mandates.
I do not support unfunded mandates. First of all, it hurts special needs. If you had a student that has behavior issues or ADHD, you're taking away from them and putting more pressure on the school district trying to figure out how do they fund these special classes? How do they fund the debate team? How do they fund special need classes? That's a problem. And we need to make sure that we fund these programs. And with vouchers, that's not going to fund them.
Well, I think like probably most of the people on this panel, I also was not agreed to approve unfunded mandates. It seems to be a complete hypocrisy. You know, mandates are there so that we have rules in place so that systems and programs can be made available to everyone. That's great, it sounds good on the outside. Like childcare, last session we passed a mandate that says that Texas schools have to provide early childcare, but they only gave about half the funds to do so. So why even go to the point or the process of approving unfunded or underfunded mandates? It's really a system set up to make them fail. You have to ask yourself, was this put in place just to make them fail? And that's kind of how I feel about it.
Hi, you joined us at the perfect time and sat at the perfect seat.
Yes,
If you
thank
want to introduce yourself, and would you like me to repeat the question?
I think I picked up on it on the way in here. My name's Mitch Little. I'm running for House District 65. My apologies for being late. I was in court at McKinney. We had a hearing that started at 9. I got out quickly, so thank you for allowing me to join. Unfunded mandates. So like many of you, do you know your superintendent here? I'm sorry, not superintendent, but your chair of the school board, Jenny Krosnick. I've spent probably 6 hours total with Jenny Krosnick talking through the finances of LISD. One of the biggest unfunded mandates, not only in LISD but statewide, is school security. So my wife is on PTA. My son goes to school about 200 yards from here. And what I've found to be very effective is having a squad car out in front of the schools, particularly on school security. One of the issues, I know when I send my son to school, I want to make sure that I know that he's safe. There are other mandates like early child care that are still putting a lot of weight on LISD, but school security is the biggest one. We don't want to be, I'm happy for any school teacher who wants to carry a firearm to carry a firearm, but that's not a job we should be putting on teachers. Teachers have enough to do. They have enough to do in the classroom. We need to, as a state, ensure that we have either a school resource officer or an armed officer or an off-duty police officer or even a veteran. There are veterans who want these jobs to be able to secure our students, and I think we can pay for it. Thank you. Oh, here you go.
Okay, so you have to hold that one too, Mitch, because this is for the.
My apologies.
I'm just letting you know.
Hi. Alrighty, we're going to switch from a little bit of school finance, vouchers, and unfunded mandates to what is your position on charter schools and their accountability?
I think I've made it clear. I'm not opposed to charter schools per se, but we do need to reevaluate them. What I do have a problem with is it's taking students out of Lewisville ISD at a rate of 6 to 7% annually, which is the biggest issue of why we are having to close schools, because that is the number of students that are, if you look at the map on the numbers, that is what we're down, because we have put charter schools in here without seeing if we need them. But now we need to see if these schools are performing at the same level, though I consistently vote against them. I have a history of voting against them the cycles when I was there, because we don't know if they're doing a good job or not, and they need to be held at the same accountability as Lewisville ISD or any of the ISDs are as well. So, but I think we need to fully fund our schools first before we start increasing charter schools, and we should put the increase of charter schools on hold until future, until we continue evaluation.
Oddly enough, this is not a question that I was prepared for. Improving accountability measures requires a shift from punitive approaches to supportive frameworks. First, we need to involve teachers in the development of accountability systems to ensure that they reflect the realities of the classroom. Accountability should focus on growth, not on achievement, allowing schools to be recognized for their progress made by their students, especially those facing challenges. Additionally, we should provide resources and professional development that empower teachers to meet the diverse needs of their students. By fostering a collaborative environment between education, parents, and administrators, we can create an accountability system that motivates improvement while nurturing positive learning environment.
Charter schools are public schools. And I will tell you that there's no single delivery system that is right for every kid. I had a kid come through, he came down and testify about virtual schools. So you can have a homeschool, you can have virtual school, you can have public school, you can have private school, parochial school. You can have any number of different delivery systems that should be able to work. The key is accountability. Each of those need to be accredited in some way, and then the kids need to be tested. I mentioned to you earlier that I haven't met one teacher yet that watched the STAR test. They'll come to my office and complain and point out good points on how it is. We spend too much time teaching to the test, and I got it. And then as soon as you talk about some of their alternative educational system, like education savings accounts, then they say, well, we want them to do the STAR test. Well, no. If it's a problem, let's do what other states have done, and there are other national norm tests that can be used to judge how well our kids are being educated.
Thank you for the question. It's a very good question. I'm a little perplexed here, to be honest with you guys. Charter schools are not public schools, and it's kind of crazy to say that, yes, I understand that we don't like the STAR test. It has all sorts of problems, but the accountability measurement system that we have for public schools it's not the same thing that's being applied to the charter schools. And the charter schools and the private schools don't necessarily always have to have the same educational restrictions or requirements that public schools do. So it feels a little, I feel like there's some conflicting information being told to you guys. But your question was, do we support charter schools, is that right?
Well, but what was your position on charter schools and their accountability?
Okay. Yeah, I believe our charter schools need to be held to the same level of accountability as our public schools, but ultimately, in terms of how I feel about charter schools, I prioritize our public school systems first. Public schools is a public utility, and that comes first before anything else. Thank you.
My position on charter schools, I'm not for charter schools. I came from a state, I'm from Louisiana. So we have public schools in Louisiana, and they decided to bring charter schools there. Guess what happened? Some of the history schools wound up closing, and charter schools came in, and it increased the dropout rates out there. I have a problem with charter schools because they're not held accountable the same way that public schools are. And charter schools need to be held accountable just like public schools. If you want to put your kid in a charter school, then expect them to be held accountable the same way that public schools are. It shouldn't be a difference.
All right, well, I would have to say that I absolutely agree with the both of you and many of you on this panel. Once again, I believe that there is a place for charter schools, and district by district, that place may change. And so we need to look at them all individually. But first, public schools come first, and charter schools are there to fill in the gap. Your public dollars stay in public schools, and your charter schools should be held to the exact same accountability as those public schools. If a district is going to manage something, then a district should have a say in its transparency and its accountability. And right now, they don't. So that is a place that we can have improvement. And like I said, there's a place for charter schools. In West Texas, they're necessary. Not in Lewisville, we don't need as many as we have. So again, I think that there's a spot for those, and we can find an equal balance, but we first have to put our funds in our public schools and protect those at all costs, and then look at charter schools second and make sure that they're being held to the same accountability as our public schools are.
Thank you. Charter schools are fantastic. We've got Trivium Academy down the street. I've got friends with kids there. The reason that we know they're fantastic is they have waiting lists that are hundreds of people long to get into those schools. They're not for everybody. They don't play football. They don't have marching band. They don't take care of all special needs kids like public schools are required to. It's not the best fit for everybody, but it is the people who are in the best position to determine the accountability of the school are the parents. Is my child learning? Is this the best opportunity that they can get at this school or that school? And the parent should be empowered to make those decisions. Now, the other benefit that public schools have that charter schools don't have is Trivium's meeting inside of First Methodist Church of Carrollton, and they can't afford their rent anymore. They've got to find another place to go. They don't have a facilities budget. They're not as enabled to sustain their operations over a long period of time, but there is demand for them. There's demand for them here in our district. We need to make sure that parents are empowered to have a menu of options to make the best choice for their child.
Thank you very much. First of all, We have school choice already. Everyone here can move their child around whenever they need to. And if you can afford it, you can move your child to any private school that you want to, if you can afford it. Specifically as it relates to charter schools, I believe that charter schools is the 80-20 rule. I think public education should satisfy 80% of the problems. And then when there's a problem that needs to be solved, then we have a charter school that solves that problem. But you have to point me to the problem first before we start justifying the school. With that said, public dollars need to have the same level of accountability on them regardless. So if you get public dollars, then it needs to have the same level of accountability. End of discussion, case closed.
Alrighty. What steps can the state legislature take to assist districts with teacher retention?
Wow, teacher retention. All right, well, off the cuff, let's see. You know, I don't have an answer on that one either. Sorry. So, actually, I'm just going to address teacher salaries because that pretty much goes into it. Ensuring sustainable salary increases for teachers is a multifaceted approach. First, I propose we tie salary increases to a stable, long-term funding model that prioritizes education in the state budget. This includes advocating for increased state revenue specifically dedicated to public education so we don't have to rely solely on local property taxes, which fluctuate significantly. I also support performance-based funding where districts that demonstrate improved educational outcomes receive additional support. Thank you.
I think there are 5 things. One, we have an increase of pay. In the last education bill we had, there was a substantial pay increase for teachers proposed. We have increased the retirement benefits. We did a small COLA increase last time for retired teachers. That needs to be improved. We need to enable classroom assistants for teachers to have additional help. We need to improve discipline. And then on the curriculum, we need curriculum across the state that is clear to all the teachers on what they need to be teaching. I would suggest to you that we need to get back to the basics on what we're teaching. We know for the last 3 decades, the United States has declined internationally compared to other nations. During that time period, what will be done? We've had kindergarten and pre-K. Those are supposed to improve us, but somehow we're snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And I think a lot of it has to do with we have to take care of our teachers more because we don't have a student shortage, we have a teacher shortage.
Thank you for the question. Yes, absolutely. It's hard to be a school teacher, guys. It's just hard. We've seen resignations drop by 40% in the past 2 years for their public school teachers. And some ISDs are very desperate, and I've seen what some of them are doing. Some of them are cutting back their staff by 20% in order to try to give some more money to the school teachers that they do hold on to. However, when you do that, you increase the classroom size, which just burns out our teachers even more. So we definitely need to, as I said, increase the basic allotment. As I said earlier, if we can increase it by at least 1,400, it will bring us back to the 2019 levels. And also, ever since HB 3 2019, any increase to the basic allotment is a guaranteed increase to our teachers' salaries. So we need to fund our teachers to what they should be paid. And we need to keep our classroom sizes down and just allow that to be a safe and healthy working environment for our public school teachers.
Did you know Texas ranked number 43? Texas ranked number 43. And we're losing teachers left and right. Next year, we're going to have a decline of teachers, qualified teachers. Our teachers are working 2 or 3 jobs. The best way that we can help our teachers out is to vote blue all the way down And I know we probably not supposed to say that, but that's the only way we're gonna be able to fix it. We need to make sure that our teachers are getting raises. In order for them to be successful and for us to recruit the best, to get out of number 43, because I don't know about you, but I don't like being number 43. So we need to make sure that we recruit the best and make sure that we give them raises in order for them to be successful and be able to teach our kids what needs to be taught.
Thanks, Stephanie. All right, teachers, they are the backbone of our society and our schools and overly important, and they need our help. Teachers should not be digging into their paychecks and their pocketbooks to stock their classrooms. And all of our students deserve teachers who are able to teach lessons and not worry about losing their jobs or what book is going to get them in trouble next. They need to be able to focus on their students, and in order to do that, they need the funding. We, for too long, have overlooked the importance of our teachers, and we have not given them respect, the resources, and the tools that they need so that they can successfully teach our students, improve our communities, and make sure that our kids have the freedom to learn in an open and caring classroom without the oversight of government telling them what they can and cannot learn.
Hey there, we need to start by making sure that our teachers are paid a competitive salary. Texas's teachers are underpaid comparative to the national average. We need to make sure more of our dollars are getting to the tip of the spear, which is the teacher in the classroom. But really, the teachers that I talk to that have left the profession aren't so much leaving it over pay. They're leaving it over discipline issues. And so Kelly Rasky, my friend with the Texas Association of School Boards, has said there's going to be a push to try to reform Chapter 37 of the Education Code to give teachers more tools to ensure that students that are unruly do not stay and disrupt classrooms, and that those classroom environments are a better, safer place for learning. I think someone down there said, I want a $1,400 increase to the basic allotment. Do you guys understand how much that costs? $800 million for a $100 increase to the basic allotment. That's $11.2 billion. Do the math for those few business people in here. $20 billion surplus, $11.2 billion going to pub ed, when we know that a third of every dollar gets into the classroom with the teacher.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, let me start by saying, that's unserious, Mitch. That's unserious. My daughter was a DIS teacher for 3 years. It's really simple. When dad has to help her with her rent, that's a problem. She never called me about the kids that were acting up in class. She only called me about dad. I can't keep doing this. I can tell your values by what you fund. When you begin to value your teachers, you will pay them. And as long as you don't value your teachers, you won't. Period. It's just that simple. This is not complicated. $27 billion, as a matter of fact, is what I was just looking here. $27 billion, according to this number, but that's, we might be wrong. But really simple. This is easy, guys. They must be a priority. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
So the state of Texas underpays its teachers $10,000 a year annually from the national average. That's just the average. Yet, let's get back to we are the 8th largest GDP. I sound like a broken record and I'm almost slow. So I did not. I caught myself. I'm in a room full of teachers. I'm angry. I'm angry. I would hope everybody else here is angry. The state of Texas is getting what it pays for. We do not value it. There are loopholes, tax loopholes for the over wealthy that we can close. I know they're there. And the reason we are here is 27 years of the GOP control. That is it. I know I am a broken record up here, but I'm angry. I'm angry, and I would not be spending 40 to 50 hours a week flipping another district if I was not so angry at the defunding of my community.
Okay, looking at the time here, we are going to move on to the closing remarks. Each candidate has a 2-minute closing, and Representative Hayes, we will begin with you.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and visit with you today. I'm adding Lewisville ISD as a community partner in one of the school districts, and I'm honored to represent. Education is critically important. We dropped the ball last session. We're going to do better this session. As a freshman, what I can tell you is, I think I appreciated how enthusiastic the governor was for school vouchers. And he was so enthusiastic, I heard many superintendents say, we'd rather not get a penny than allow any school vouchers. And I think that was a tactical error. And now we're living through a period of deficit budgets. And I think, again, I'll tell you, these are not mutually exclusive, folks. We can do it. And we can adjust our school sizes, the number of schools that we're going to have in proportion to our population. We know this, there are 6.4 million kids who are in public education, kindergarten through 12. Only 5.4 million of those are in the public schools. We have 750,000 people now in homeschooling, 250,000 in private schools. The trend is to do something a little bit different. Parents are thirsty for alternatives. And I think we can provide alternatives, and it can be a win-win for everybody around. We can make this a win-win if we work at it. If we don't work at it, then it will not be a win-win. I'll leave you with these last few thoughts. I visited at length with Brad Buckley, the chairman of the Education Committee. The bill that is being prepared is coming along nicely. I feel very optimistic that there will be significant increases for public education. And I also believe that there will be funds for education savings accounts. And you know what? The whole world didn't get a hint. In the other 31 states that have it, the world is not in it.
All right, how you guys doing? So again, my name is Dale Frey, and I'm running to be your next Texas State Senator. I think you guys probably can tell already by now, but I stand in support and trying to fix our broken healthcare system. It bothers me that we're not part of the Medicaid expansion program. It's something we already spend money into. I want to support our public schools and our public school teachers. That means increasing the basic allotment and also making sure the basic allotment auto-adjusts along with inflation. I stand against the voucher scam. I stand against it. And guys, so far the state house has blocked it. Thank God. But I don't know how long the House can hold on for, especially since we have a representative down here today saying that he thinks he can read the tea leaves and it will pass. Guys, so far the state House has been the one rejecting the school voucher scam. It's been initiated by the state Senate, which is why we need Texas state senators to stand against the voucher scam and stand in support of y'all. And I'm ready to be your next Texas state senator for District 30. If you want to learn more about me, you can come to freyfortexas.com. That's F-R-E-Y for Texas.com. Or you can meet me here and I'll talk with you all after. I don't know how much time I have, but since my opponent's not here, I'll tell you a little bit about him. So my opponent calls himself pro-business. Oh.
We're going to stick to talking about our own.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
My opponent's not here either. In conclusion, I want to tell you this. I have three grown adults that graduated from Northwest ISD. I was a booster mom, I was a mom to other students, and I stand up for my teachers that taught my kids, because Lord knows I couldn't do it. We found that out during COVID. I'm gonna tell you, our teachers are so very important, and they're so very important to our communities and to our future. If we do not make sure that we fully fund our public schools, we're gonna have a problem. I understand they wanna go and take money out of our public schools and give it to private schools. That's not gonna work. Because like I said before, those that want to go to private schools, you pay for it. If you want your kids to be successful, we need to invest in our public school and make it better. We're number 43. Did I mention that earlier? We're number 43. And in order for you to be the best, we need to invest. We need to invest in our future. We need to invest in our teachers. That's the only way that we're gonna be able to recruit the best teachers if we pay them. If you don't pay them, you pay for what you get, right? You want cheap labor, then that's what you're gonna get. We want good teachers that's gonna be able to teach the best for our students. We wanna make sure that we invest, and I'm gonna say it again, we need to invest in our schools. And we also need to loosen up that purse string and make sure that we have these distressed districts, like this district. We need to make sure that Lewisville ISD is taken care of and not put in the back.
All right, thank you guys so much for having us all up here to the Lewisville Council of PTAs. After having served, like I said, on multiple PTAs, I've raised 4 kids. They were all under ages of 30, 27, 25, and a recent high school graduate. I have been on booster clubs. I've formed booster clubs. Everything from vice president of the PTA of an elementary school all the way to the event chair at a very, very popular middle school with all its fun socials. What you guys do is incredible work. And we couldn't do it. Your schools couldn't function without you. Y'all, we are facing some big problems. Programs like these private school voucher programs that are ready to siphon funds away from your already suffering classrooms. They're taking funding away from our teachers and making it harder for them to do the jobs that we put them in charge of doing, taking care of our kids, making sure that they're getting the education they deserve, the opportunities, and all of the tools to make them successful members of our society. Look, my campaign is about something different. It really is. I'm here to work together. I really am. You want to talk about win-wins? That's what I do for a living. I create win-wins. I'm a realtor by trade, and I sit and I negotiate. I have one person on one side of the room who doesn't want to spend money, and I have another person on the other side of the room who wants to make a lot. And somehow, every day, we come together and we make deals, and we make things happen. This is what grown-ups do. This is what legislators do. We work together to get those win-wins. But win-win is not going to be on the backs of our students, our teachers, and our schools. That is not a win-win. When our students lose, we all lose. So, again, my name is Hava Johnston, and I am running to be the next state representative for House District 106, which is a small portion of Lewisville ISD, but it's an important part of my district, which is why I took the time to be here with you today, and I'll stay afterwards to answer any questions that you have. If you'd like to find out more about me, please visit my website at hava106.com. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you. Again, my name is Mitch Little. I'm running for House District 65. Apologies again for being late. I just want to tell you, I'm a joyful consumer of the services of Lewisville ISD. I dropped my son off at football practice this morning. We have a teacher here in the audience with us who had a significant impact on my son's life when he was in elementary school. I understand the value of a teacher. I also understand the value of a day's work. We, as a state, are going to invest more in public education. The question is, how are we going to make sure that it correlates to the success of public education writ large? Because if you look at Chicago, they doubled the size of their budget and their scores went down. I believe that we have good schools here in LISD, we have good schools in House District 65, and they're going to continue to do well and succeed, led by the people who are doing the work on the school board, our superintendent, our administrators. They're absolutely going to continue doing a good job. But I want you to just consider one thing before you leave. Our experience in LISD is not fully indicative of the experience of all students throughout the state of Texas. And so if you are in the ISD and you're trapped in a failing school, if you are in Austin ISD and you're trapped in a failing school, there might be another way to do it where that student has an opportunity to have success. The other thing I want you to tackle, this is a much bigger picture issue that I want you to consider as you go home, is are we going about funding schools in the state of Texas the right way through recapture? LISD sent $16 million to Austin through recapture. They have a $12 million deficit budget. You don't have to have a PhD in math to understand why we don't have the money we need in this district to fund the things that are in our budget. It's a much bigger picture issue, and it's not just right-left. We as a state need to decide, is this the right way to go about it? Austin ISD sends $1 billion in recapture to the state, and they have a massive multi-$100 million deficit budget. Please vote for me, MitchLittleForTexas.com. Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming out. Deputy Burr, Texas House of Representatives candidate nominee, Democratic nominee, District 65. Basically, guys, we're gonna have to decide who we wanna be. It's just that simple. Who you wanna be? You see, I understand that you can't underfund a thing over here and then expect it to excel over here, okay? This doesn't take legislative battle. It should make sense to you, right? You can't have 31, what was that, $29 billion over here, and then that's called a rainy day fund, and then LSIP has their umbrellas up. It doesn't make sense, okay? So my priority, really simple, I have a few, but funding public education is first and foremost. My mother is a retired school teacher. I just told you, my daughter, 3 years. You mentioned Chicago, it's interesting. My college student was teacher of the year in Chicago, interesting. I served on the board of a private school for 6 years. I get it and I understand school choice, right? Guys, this is about you deciding who you want to be, okay? Are you going to be a people who will take care of your schools that your child may not go to, but your child's friend may go to, your child's spouse may go to, okay? Are you going to fund this? Really simple. Because if you don't fund it today, you're going to have to pay for them in prison 10 years from now. You decide. You decide. Are you going to vote for people who make public education an afterthought? Or are you going to vote for people who make it a primary thought? It's not hard. This is really simple. Really, really simple. Like I said, I've served this community for 18 years, 9 years in the colony, 9 years in CBO. That's my resume. You see, I'm not going to go to Austin and fight for anything. You know why? Because I know how to do the work. It's all about getting the work done. And when you know how to do the work, you don't have to fight. Thank you so much. I'd love to get to know you. I look forward to meeting you all down in Austin.
Hi, I'm former Representative Michelle Beckley, and Governor Abbott has 10 million reasons from out-of-state donors why he's pushing vouchers. It is not from people in this state, because if it was people in this state, put it on the ballot and let us vote for it. They won't do that because it won't pass. The only way it's passing is because we have gerrymandered the hell out of this state. And I know that because I was drawn out of HD 65, and you can wait the little hump in HD 65. My house is in the middle of it. That is how badly they drew me out of HD 65. I'm part of an NAACP lawsuit about that. So anyways, I am here because, like I have said, I am 100% against vouchers. And the race for HD 63, which can flip the cycle, the numbers are here to flip. I did it before with 12 points. This one's only 10 points. I need every single vote. It's going to be close. You have a choice between an elected official who supported LISD with every single one of her votes against an official that voted against LISD with every one of his votes. That is what you have in LISD, no matter what party you represent. You can vote for Trump and vote for Beckley. I don't care, because I want to support this community and make sure our resources come back here and are not going into the pockets of the wealthy. This is a power grab and a money grab. That is all vouchers are. These other people are going to sit here and tell you a bunch of BS. That's not true. It is a money grab. That is what it is. And let me just say, there are more important things in this world than money, and it's our children. They are the future, and I'm here to support them. Thank you. My website is michellebeckley.com. I'd appreciate your vote in November. Actually, you can start October 21st next week. Thank you.
Thank you all for the opportunity to speak this morning and for your commitment to our children's education. As I wrap up, I want to reinforce my vision for our schools grounded in libertarian principles, individual freedom, personal responsibility, and community empowerment. We stand at a crucial crossroads in education. Parents, you are the primary advocates for your children, and I believe that it's long past time for you to reclaim that role. We need to create an environment where your voices resonate in the decisions that impact your kids. Together we can advocate for educational opportunities that address the diverse needs of our students, ensuring that every child has the opportunity to thrive in a learning environment that suits them best. Fiscal responsibility is another key pillar of my campaign. whether at the state level or at the local level. I firmly believe that we must prioritize transparency and accountability in our schools. Every dollar should directly enhance our children's educational experience. As your representative, I will fight for effective budgeting that puts our students first and minimizes wasteful spending. Moreover, we must encourage innovation in teaching methods. Education should be dynamic and adaptable. By fostering a culture that embraces new ideas and approaches, we can help our teachers inspire our children to think critically and creatively. In closing, I am committed to working collaboratively with all of you, parents, teachers, and community members, to build a stronger, more responsive educational system. Together, we can ensure that our schools are not just places of learning, but also nurturing environments where the children can grow into capable, independent thinkers. Let's work together to create an education system that truly reflects our values and empowers every family. Thank you.
So we ran a little short on time, so we will not be getting to the rapid fire questions. We want to thank all candidates who volunteered to serve for running their race. Those who step up to serve and volunteering to take time away from their families and their careers in order to help our communities be represented and our voices heard in Austin. We would also like to thank those in the audience for attending and learning more about the issues facing our children in our public schools today and in the future. Once this election is over, I would like to remind those in the audience that your advocacy efforts have only begun, and we encourage you to stay informed of how the issues that were discussed today are being impacted in the 89th legislative session, and to stay in communication with those who are elected to serve. And with that, we will conclude today's forum. Remind you that early voting begins October 21st and Election Day is November 5th. And with the extra 12 minutes we have, we wanted you to have that time to chat one-on-one with the candidates before you leave. We do have the room until a little after 11 o'clock. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day.